1. Welcome to Made for More Living.
One small step for man.
With Johnny Jennings.
Kick the tires and light the fires, Big Daddy.
The fastest and most exciting hour of news, events, and real estate in Northern California.
And this is a fact that was proved.
Powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
Does everybody know what time it is?
Get ready. Here we go.
So, Valary, before you came into the studio, Matt and I were having a conversation, and I don't think he really believed me. Did you, Matt?
No, I didn't, and I couldn't believe. You're going to be shocked, Valary. You're going to be shocked at what your husband had to say. He said that your precious baby, when he was born, looked like Gollum from Lord of the Rings. That is one ugly baby. How could he say such a thing about your precious baby boy?
You know, they all look a little funny when they first come out.
No, my kids looked like the most beautiful thing I had ever seen in my life. They were a creation that only God could put together.
I agree with that, yes. But, yeah, they definitely get cuter with time.
So, wait. Hold on. I'm still trying to clear this up. You thought your babies, when they were born, were ugly?
No, just not as cute as I knew they would be someday.
They had potential.
There you go.
They had potential.
It's like baking a cake, right? You have the batter all mixed up. It doesn't look good. The cookies are what look good.
So
just need some time.
That's a good question. When is the sweet age of when your child looks the cutest? So obviously for you guys, it's not when they're first born.
No. They're all.
I think they start looking more normal when they have teeth and hair.
Well, even then, I would argue, like, Jack, he took a long time to get hair, and he was still very cute by like 6 months, I think.
Oh my gosh!
My daughter
jack-o'-lantern head.
My daughter didn't have hair till she was like almost 2 years old.
Yeah, Jack was. I mean, you look at his first birthday pictures, and there's just like a little tiny wisp on top.
I like babies with no hair. I don't think babies with a big head of hair look that cute.
Well, beauty's in the eye.
It would be way creepier if they came out with hair and teeth, Johnny. Like,
no, I'm not saying. I'm not saying they should. You know, everything, you got to walk before you can run. But I'm just saying they look more normal when they have teeth and hair.
Babies aren't supposed to look normal. There's a reason why they are born cute. Is because it's a natural thing. God created that way so that parents would take care of their babies. If they were ugly,
see, I look at it. Okay, no, it's like true. Ugly. It's
I'm
like,
not kidding.
They're horrible, and it's like, okay, God made them that way because you need help.
God made babies.
You
cute
need
so
me.
that we
I
would
can't
take care of them.
Yeah. You need me. You're so ugly. I need to help you.
But we were relating that to real estate in the fact that people seem to look at their own homes like they do their children. There's emotion.
100%.
What's your perspective on that?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So you hit the nail on the head because people and they become nose blind to the smells in their houses.
Oh, I didn't touch on that.
Yeah,
explain
that is my
what does that mean? Nose blind. I've never
peeve.
heard that term before.
Yeah, well, because you smell something a number of times, right? And eventually it just becomes normal to you, and it's like, oh, well, this is just how it smells. It doesn't smell weird. It's just,
you don't smell that cat urine?
No, seriously, people don't.
Even like these microphones. Like I joke with people, get close enough so you can smell it. You know, and it does not smell like we're nose blind to these suckers. These are not. This does not smell like a pumpkin spice latte. You know,
but it's true. So you go into homes and it's like, oh my gosh, you smell that stench, but they don't.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for sure. Especially with pets, like cats are really bad, but even with dogs, it's like you walk in the house. Oh, they have dogs. You know, even if they try. You know, if they could be really clean and like vacuum up all the hair, but dogs just have a certain smell, you know, and other dog people don't mind, you know, because it's just they're used to that smell in their house too, right?
It's like smokers. Like if a smoker walks into another smoker's house, they're not, you know, offended by the smell.
Right.
But if a non-smoker walks into a smoker's house, they're like, oh my God,
they're like, ew, it smells like smoke.
So obviously when you're meeting with somebody and they think their home is worth a lot more because they have this emotional affection for their home. What do you tell them when their home stinks? Your home's not going to sell because it stinks. What's the conversation there?
Well, a lot of it we kind of outsource. So whether it's price or condition, we have people that here's the process, right? So you sign the listing agreement.
Right.
We're going to go ahead and have a home readiness consultation, right? So we're going to send someone in that's a professional stager and they give you tips on what to do with your house, right? Because most people live there, right?
Go ahead and just look at me, Swigger.
most people, they like live in their home, right? And so they just need to like rearrange their furniture a little bit and, move things around. So we have them come in and they will say things like, oh, you should touch up the paint here, or you should, put in some Febreze plugins or whatever, so
they deliver the honest truth.
Yeah.
Right?
So that it's not coming from us.
Because they take it personally, and we don't want them to think that we can't sell their house or we don't want to sell their house. Like, we love their home, and just here's some tips on how to make it more appealing to a buyer.
To other people, because what really matters is when the buyer walks in and what do they think about the house.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because can you remove smells like cat urine and smoke is that possible? Have you ever come across something like that?
There's ways. It just depends on how involved you want to get in that. Because if it's and it depends on the severity of the situation. So if like
because sometimes you'd have to probably like remove the carpet, right?
Remove
if
the
it's
carpet,
that bad,
remove carpet, remove furniture. You would have to maybe even remove sheetrock if they've been going on the walls. But there are processes to do that. I think, what is it called? An ozone. It's what's it called? An ozone machine or something like that.
Yeah, there's multiple ways. I've seen like these little bags that they hang up to. They're like these cloth bags that are supposed to help absorb smells and stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all different ways to do that.
But most people are, blind to their situation, or it's not as bad to them as it would be to potentially somebody else. And so, they think their baby is a little bit prettier maybe than it is. But I was also telling Matt the other reason is it's a financial reason, right? Like if you say something negative about their home, or maybe something that they don't necessarily agree with, maybe more of an opinion, then to them that's taking money out of their pocket. That's devaluing their property.
Totally.
And so we just want to make sure that we're not here to devalue your property. We're here to net you the most amount of money, and here's how we can help you do that.
Right. It's just adding value by cleaning, decluttering, getting rid of the smells. It's only adding more value to your home by doing stuff like that, and it's pretty inexpensive to do.
It's the best bang for your buck.
Oh yeah.
Deep clean the property. Make sure it is clean. The backyard is clean. The front yard is clean. The exterior has been touched up. Like, if you just do a deep clean of the property, clean the windows, that'll go way further than like the return will be higher than putting in like a new kitchen or a new bathroom or something like that.
Right. Yeah. It's 100% true. Yeah. And it's good to have the home readiness consultation too, because then they can come in with the perspective of somebody else. Like, you may think your house isn't cluttered, but that's to your own standards, right? But what are other buyers looking at, and they just see all of your stuff on the counters, right? And so they can provide that outside perspective of like, oh, well, maybe you should think about putting those things inside the cabinet instead of setting them out on the counter. So,
right.
Yeah, it's like going to a doctor. You think, hey, I'm healthy, and they start asking you questions. You're like, dude, you got to change your lifestyle. You're going to be dead in the next 7 years, And
Right.
it's that neutral third party that reshifts your paradigm a little bit and is like, oh, okay, I didn't think of it from that perspective.
And is it harder conversation with folks that are older that have kind of been set in their ways for decades? No?
I think everybody.
Really?
Yeah.
I was in a house yesterday, and I'm pretty sure they're like in their 30s, maybe 40s, right? So not older people, right? And they are just stuff everywhere, and they, it's not like they're set in their ways at all, but they would be offended if I was like, put away your stuff.
So something I've been working on personally with Jack, our oldest, is I'm a very like cut and dry person. I'm not necessarily like fun. But if you're trying to communicate with a 2-year-old, he's almost 3. We'll say a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
If you're trying to communicate with a 3-year-old and you're coming at it from like, and you sound like NPR, it's not very fun to them, right?
Right.
But if you come at it from like, hey, this is
buddy.
fun, this is great. Hey, I'm going to meet you on your level, and then and then we're going to do this.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, he buys into it and he takes ownership of that.
Yeah.
And so when we're meeting with home sellers, like
You treat them like preschoolers?
we're so excited to work with them. Yeah, we give them a sucker. Here you go.
Gold
You
star.
clean up
Gold
this
star.
clutter, we'll give you some goldfish.
Exactly. No. So what I'm just saying is you got to meet them on their level, because some people
Yeah.
are going through a hard time.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, the properties that need more work are that way because there's been a life event.
Yeah.
And so we're not there to like judge them or degrade them or their property. We're there to help them. And so if the house smells like a bunch of cats, well, maybe there was a situation going on where this lady was adopting all these cats.
Yeah.
Or if there's a bunch of personal belongings in the property, maybe that person went through a period of life where they didn't have anything and now they're afraid to let anything go. And so we're here to like meet them and match whatever situation they're in and guide them through it. So if you're listening to this, like we're here to help. That's at the end of the day, full stop. That's our job, is to help you through that process and be your guide.
Yeah, because it is whether you're selling or buying, it's an emotional purchase transaction. It's not a house, and obviously you guys are looking at it from a more of a transactional perspective because you want to net them the most money possible for their home, and you're looking at all these different aspects of it. But it is super emotional because it's going to be where you raise your kids or make memories. And so as their representatives, as their advocates per se, you kind of do have to have that little aspect of where you have to sometimes have the skills of a psychologist or a therapist. You do have to have those let's call them personal skills.
For sure.
That's something they don't teach you when you get your license, do they, Johnny?
No, they don't. And that's why I hired Valary immediately.
There you go.
I was like, I cannot do this alone. I need help.
This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
So before we go into politics, because I think this is a political year and it's an interesting topic. Valary, obviously you and I work together. For those of you who don't know, Valary is my ex-girlfriend, aka my wife, and so we get to do this crazy business together. But you're also a mom, right? And so how, like, what when you are going throughout your day, you were joking that like there's all these ups and downs between business and kids. How can we how can I help you in that?
Wow.
I think this is a safe place.
He said that terribly.
Oh, I'm nervous. I'm
How
nervous.
can I help you with that?
I'm like,
I'm nervous.
I
Where
think
do I
what he wants to know is, what is he doing wrong?
No, I want to know what I'm doing right too. Tell me what I'm doing right. But go ahead. What am I doing wrong? How can I help you? Or how can I do? What am I doing good that I should do more of? Let's start it off positive.
It's taking her a
Oh,
long
wow.
time to
It's
think
taken her
about
a long
that.
time.
Yeah. No, I think
He's a good
it's-
provider, right?
Yeah. No.
No,
I
I am not a good provider. I'm a good spender.
Yeah.
Are you? You're the spender?
Oh, 1,000.
Oh, yeah.
1,000%.
Oh, wow. It is true.
Johnny
yeah.
called me yesterday and he was like, "Be proud of me. Guess what? I didn't spend money today." And I was like, "Oh, good job."
So who handles the finances in your relationship? Is it split or?
So all same bank accounts.
Yeah. But
But-
we have business and personal.
Who manages
so-
is there one person that manages the money? Or no, you said that Johnny manages the business side of it.
Correct.
You handle the personal side of it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that
makes sense.
But that's where Pandora's box, because Johnny loves to spend money on the business. Like he's like, "Oh, this new tool, we can increase our productivity and get new leads and stuff." Like,
But it
it's
seems like Johnny, and I'm sorry, we're just having a conversation about you.
It's okay,
But
I'm just
he's a
here.
very analytical, everything in the spreadsheet has its box, very organized person. So it seems like that type of temperament, that type of personality would be more budget conscious about what they're spending, what's coming in, what's going out. But you're saying no?
I mean, yeah. So he does. He thinks about it like, okay, how is this going to increase our top line, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily like, is there enough money for this, but like, are we going to see an increase if I implement this?
You hit it on the head.
investment.
Yeah.
You hit it on the head. It's not, do we have enough money for this, but would this help?
Yeah.
That's those, two
Yeah.
sides of the same coin. You probably should have enough money before you invest.
But do you think
invest
about
in it.
That's
those
what I'm
kind of
always
things?
saying. Do I?
I mean, you obviously look at the potential, like, oh my gosh, look at what a great investment this is going to be.
So the
Do you
difference,
go ahead.
difference between Valary and I is I tend to be skewed more positive. Like I think at the best possible outcome, and Valary thinks, hey, the worst possible outcome.
Yeah.
So we have to bridge that gap.
Or is she just being realistic and
More often or not, she's being realistic.
okay? She's not just a Debbie Downer, like, oh my gosh, what if this happens?
No, the biggest financial mistakes I've ever made. I said, no, we're going to do this. I think this is good. She's like, I don't think so. I think, and I went forward anyways. And biggest like, for example, the reason why I was calling Valary yesterday is because I had signed up for a company. We were going to partner with this company, and it ended up being a total bait and switch. It was horrible. Horrible. Wow. And I wanted out, and I've been trying to get out for like almost 4 years. I've been trying to get out of this arrangement, and they were just ghosting me. And then they said I owed them a bunch of money, and they were essentially suing us. And so I had hired an attorney, and the attorney said, oh my gosh, thank you for hiring us. This is totally illegal what they're doing. Like I was totally getting taken advantage of. And he ended up saving us, I think it was like $14,600, right? Yeah. Which isn't like millions of dollars, but man, that'll buy some cigars. And that'll put some diapers on the babies. But that's what I was celebrating was that, hey, instead of, us having to pay all this money, I actually saved us money. But the risk was I could pay the attorneys a bunch of money and then still owe the money on the other side. And so Valary was coming at it from, hey, you know what? This could actually cost us more money in the long run. And me, with the more optimistic perspective, said, hey, it could save us a lot of money.
Right. And you're just more of a risk taker naturally, too. Like, you like, okay, let's see what happens. And the upside potential could be there. So let's risk it and see if we can, get to that upside, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas I'm like, well, there's also a really big downside. So
yeah,
right. Yeah. That's good to know about Johnny as I grow in my relationship with him, to know that he's constantly wanting to take risks, and it's okay to recommend that he put on the brakes.
Thank you. The more people in life that we have,
but
to
also
speak wisdom into Johnny's ear.
But also, the biggest wins, the people that are most successful in the history of the United States have taken those risks. Yeah. You won't find any success story where someone didn't decide to take a risk.
100%, yeah. And that's why, we've been together for a long time, but that's why I've learned to get outside of my comfortable little bubble and listen to Johnny sometimes too. I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. Like, even though this is uncomfortable for me, let's go ahead and do it anyways.
Yeah, because worst case scenario, what's going to happen? Like I heard it once. I can't remember. It was a billionaire. I can't remember the guy's name, but he said, "Never bet the farm. Never bet the farm. Like take risks, take chances, put yourself out there, but never take yourself bet so heavy that it takes you out of the game." And so that's where my stopgap is like, hey, is this going to bankrupt us? Is this going to put us in financial hardship? And then that's where I walk away.
Well, that's smart.
But if it's like, hey, this might cost us thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay, what's the risk versus reward? Worst case scenario, we lose it all. We're still in the game. And so that's where I balance it.
That's smart.
But there's a lot of people who are feeling that right now in politics too.
Yeah, and I'm curious. I wanted to ask that question real quick. Do you guys both? You have to say which side of the aisle you agree with, but do you agree politically, both of you guys?
Yeah, I'd say for the most part. Yeah.
I don't even know what we disagree on, honestly.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
My wife and I agree for the most part. She's a little bit more. I don't know. She's a little bit more, I will say, conservative than I am.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're both conservative. I'll put that out there. I don't care. But we're both conservative, but she's just a little bit more conservative in her beliefs, where I'm a little bit more skeptical. I would say she's more of a conspiracy theorist believer.
She's one of those.
And I'm like, come on.
I love those people.
Come on.
They're very entertaining.
They're so fun to talk to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking with a friend the other day, and she was like, look, Bigfoot does exist. Check out this footage. This is irrefutable.
That's what my wife will do. She doesn't go as far as Bigfoot. I mean, she's not that crazy. But she will say, did you see this? And I'm like, babe, you're watching too much social media. You can't believe. Johnny told me himself, what was it, last week? Don't believe 100% of the stuff you hear and only half the stuff you see.
Exactly.
Right?
Never let you down.
Yeah. But we are obviously in a political season, so how's that affecting the real estate market?
Well, it's kind of the same thing, right? Like there are people out there who believe in aliens and Bigfoot and conspiracies, And they're way out there. I don't know. I think it would be ignorant to say we're the only sentient beings in the universe. But
coming from a Trekkie.
Oh gosh, yep, Star Trek, and then TNG, the best version, and then there's people out there who are doom and gloom about the political cycle. Like whether Kamala or Trump becomes president, depending on what your perspective is. Trump gets in, that's great. Kamala gets in, that's great. And a lot of people are waiting to see what happens. But here's where I kind of get frustrated with people is. And maybe frustrated isn't the right word. It's just people are delaying taking action because they're nervous. They're delaying selling their home. They're delaying purchasing a home because they're nervous. I totally get that. If I was looking to sell a property or buy a property right now, I'd probably feel the same way. But then you have to look at it. What happened when Obama was president? He was a Democrat. Home prices went up. What happened when Trump was president? Home prices went up. What happened when Biden was president? Home prices went up. And so if you're considering what's going to happen in this next political cycle, odds are home prices are going to go up. And it really doesn't matter what's happening right now. It matters what's happening 5 to 10 years from now. So regardless if Kamala or Trump becomes president, Trump, this would be his last term. Kamala could maybe get hired for 2 more terms. 10 years from now, she's not even in the White House. Right? It's going to be somebody completely different.
Right.
The economic landscape, the global landscape is going to be completely different. So if
And
you're worried about what's happening now, you're focusing. Real estate is not the stock market, right, Val?
Right, yeah. I mean, real estate's way more of a long game. I was just circling back to the whole 10-year thing that you were referencing, because most people stay in their home anywhere from 7 to 10 years, and that's the normal real estate type cycle, right? And so that's why it's not the stock market that changes, 10 minutes to a day. It changes really, really, really quickly, whereas the real estate market, it's a lot longer of a cycle. I mean, if somebody wanted to put their house on the market based on some election results, right? They're probably 3 or 4 weeks away from putting their home on the market. Then it's on the market for a while, and then a whole nother month before it closes escrow. So our cycle is just a lot longer in general.
Yeah.
Right. And I wish you guys had the money that some of our presidential campaigns have, the millions of dollars to get those messages out, because that's not what they're hearing.
Right.
They're hearing constant messages. If Donald Trump gets in the White House, it is going to destroy America. It's going to destroy our economy. Other people say if Kamala Harris becomes president, it's going to destroy this country. And people feel nervous about that. They're like, oh my gosh, holy cow. This is what they're being inundated with on a constant basis. This message of this is it. This is the most important election of our lifetime. If you don't vote correctly, it could mean doom and gloom for this country, or it could mean the best times of our country we've ever had. So yeah, you have people saying, yeah, I can afford to buy a house, but I'm going to wait. I'm unclear of where this country is going to go, because I've been told that it could go either direction depending on who gets into the White House.
It's just
so you have to clear up all that misinformation.
Yeah, you got to figure what is the news purpose. It's not to inform. I mean, this might be a little conspiracy theorist-y, but what they're doing is they're selling advertising slots.
Yeah.
And so, in order
to real estate companies
to sell, to Pfizer and to GM and to all these big companies, and so in order to have eyeballs on the screens, whether it's on your phone, your TV, wherever, to have eyeballs on the screen, you have to be you have to incite some type of an emotional response. And unfortunately, going back, since the dawn of newspapers, if it bleeds, it leads. And hearing that real estate's good, real estate's going to appreciate, nobody cares about that. They're worried. They want to hear the bad stuff.
Right.
And if they want to hear the bad stuff, that's what they're being fed, and that puts more eyeballs on the screen, and that increases how much money you can generate off of your advertising slots. And so, just don't. I wouldn't even plug into the news. The best thing Valary and I have ever done. Well, I can't speak to Valary. The best thing I've ever done was I stopped listening to the news. Every person I've ever spoken to that has done this has seen a tremendous benefit to their health, their emotional state, and to their productivity and their overall output, because they're not consuming all this negative information that you can't do anything about. You can cast your ballot. Yes, go out, vote. I'm not saying don't vote. You can cast your ballot, but it's one vote.
Yeah.
You're not gonna sway who is getting in the White House.
Well, don't say your vote doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm not saying your vote doesn't
matters.
matter. I'm not saying your vote doesn't matter, but do what can. I'm saying just do what you can and then let the rest go.
Yeah, that's true.
Vote and then let the rest go. You're not going to convince your family members, at Thanksgiving that your president is the best one or the worst one, right? You're not going to sway somebody politically. Just let it go. You're not going to and that person in the office. Here's something that's really interesting, Val. Is I was listening to, I think it was the former CEO or president of Goldman Sachs. He was like he was like there for 8 or 10 years, and he was there during the Great Recession. And what he was sharing was how influential the Oval Office is, how influential the president is, because here's people who handle billions, if not trillions of dollars, and they're being told, come down to the White House. So they drop everything that they have going on, and they fly down to the White House the next day, and they are then told what type of things they should promote. They are then told how they will benefit financially if they push certain things. And so when it comes to the person in the White House influencing things, I can see it more in those types of situations, more in the stock market, but less in real estate, because real estate is also a very local thing. There's local regulations, there's state level regulations, there's city and county ordinances. There's so much that the president just can't wave his magic wand or her magic wand and get something done. There's just all these layers of checks and balances that the president would have to carve through in order to make wide sweeping changes with the stroke of a pen.
That's a good point.
And so,
and even though they do have influence on interest rates, even that doesn't affect the housing market as much as people think it does. Interest rates go up, they go down, people are still buying and selling, it still keeps going.
Yeah. So aside from politics and marriage, you guys have been doing pretty well recently, closing some homes. Do you have any stories to share of any homes that you've helped people sell, some transactions that went really well?
Yeah, the first one that comes to mind is a client of ours. We were actually selling the second home for this family. Yeah. So what's their situation is the daughter is trying to get her parents into a comfortable space. So dad went into a home because he needs a little bit more care now. And then mom is moving in with her. And so just consolidating their life. And, all three of them had houses and they don't really.
And mom and dad weren't together, just for clarity's sake.
Yeah, just for clarity. But, a lot of folks take care of their parents and try to get them set up comfortably in their retirement, right?
Are we taking care of your parents?
It depends.
Drop that bomb.
No, here's the thing.
Thanksgiving's going to be fun.
There's different levels of taking care of, right? Like this daughter, she made sure that he's set up financially. He's in a home, right? It's not like he's moving in with her into her house, right?
Yeah.
So there's, so there's different ways to take care of your parents. But anyways, that was the second one that we got sold for that family. So they're able to kind of, move on with their life in a little bit more streamlined manner, and everyone's taking.
But that's
care
just so much
yeah.
fun because, I remember meeting them at meeting the daughter at the first house, and she's like, "Hey, my parents are probably going to sell. If you do a good job on this house, let's sell the next one." Yeah. And we did a great job on the first house. We got the second house, and we sold the second house, and she's just ecstatic. And that's I love those types of moments.
Yeah.
Why?
Because there's so many things that go wrong in a transaction. There's so many bumps along the road that for somebody. And oftentimes, unfortunately, real estate agents, I think, are seen more as a commodity. We're not really valued. But so when somebody says, hey, I really appreciate and value the work that you did, so much so that I'm going to refer you to my dad, like that just, how could that not feel good?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But, so
I like that. Yeah, it's true because, you've done a good job and, you've helped multiple people.
And
that's
that,
good.
And so yes, we have more 5-star reviews than anybody else in the area. Like we sell a house, on average every 3 days. Like we have all these things, but it's moments like that where I'm like, hey, that was freaking cool.
Yeah,
like, I want to tell my kid about those types of stories.
It feels good to make people happy to serve others. That's the bottom line. It feels good when you're able to serve somebody and satisfy somebody.
Absolutely.
Help fill their needs.
So if you want help, if you want to reach out to us, just go to madeformorerealty.com and we're happy to help.
And talk about politics.
Kamala Trump. What is
it?
Donald Kamala. Donald Harris.
That's right.
Donald Harris for
And I always
president.
say, it doesn't matter who's president, God is in the throne, no matter
Yep.
what, right?
Amen.
100%.
This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by EXP Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
So, Matt, you're a big believer in under promise and over deliver.
Oh, absolutely.
So-
Yeah, you want to be realistic in your expectations because what happens? Then you don't have to deal with disappointment. Nobody likes dealing with disappointment.
Hey, I'm with
and
ya.
that's what happens when you overpromise and underdeliver.
So I'm with you. That's why in my wedding vows, I under promised and now I'm over delivering.
Right.
Yep. So
you promised no children and all of a sudden you've got 2.
Oh no,
There you go.
I wanted like how many was it? 5, 6?
You definitely overpromised. You said you would cook for me and learn how to cook.
Now it all comes out.
Yeah,
Let's hear
so
it.
there were-
Let's
there
hear
were-
it, Valerie. Hold on. She's
Here-
not dead.
here
Let's
we
go.
go.
Let's
Yeah.
vent. Come on. Tell us all the promises that Johnny has not delivered on.
That's the first one that comes to mind.
I barbecue.
Sometimes.
Oh wow, this is good. I think
This is therapy.
This is good. So
This is free therapy.
you're-
Actually, not really, but
You're upset that he promised that he would cook for you on more often, and he's not doing that.
I said I would learn how to cook.
Oh, you don't know how to cook.
Well,
That's the challenge.
Not
I know
really.
how to barbecue. I'm not amazing at barbecue, but I can burn a steak.
What were your expectations?
Yeah,
for
yeah,
him?
yeah. What do you mean I haven't fulfilled? What do I still need to do?
Well, I mean, for a while there, you were like trying and you would do like a new recipe every week. And you were like, I'll cook for you once a week. And I know that was a different phase
Season.
of our life.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we've got a lot more going on now. But, stuff like that where it's like it was an effort that you were trying for that. you
Not
know?
making an effort, Johnny.
That was like 3 weeks. That was not very long.
I know.
Okay.
We've been married for a long time.
We have been
That was
married
3 weeks.
a while.
So I think to make your wife happy, you should try that. Give it a shot. Try to create something interesting.
Okay.
You can follow a recipe.
There are cheats.
I know you
yes,
can.
there's lots of cheats.
You are good at that.
As long as there's not a lot of chopping and dicing and anything like that, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I
Just
don't
go
like
to
that
the
stuff.
supermarket and ask them to do it for you.
There you
and
go.
then come home and you've got all the stuff
Hey, that's how I grocery shop.
once
right.
a week.
Yeah.
Yep, Valary.
It's a good skill to have to learn how to like use a knife though. So
I can-
Yeah.
chop
whatever,
stuff.
Whatever.
And they have machines that can actually do that for you too.
Here's the thing too, though, is yes, maybe I'm not the best cook, and yes, maybe my idea of doing the laundry is throwing everything on cold, right, and just letting it ride. But
what happens.
there's a lot of we started dating in 2010, married in 2013,
Yeah.
so we got
11.
14 years of being together under the belt. 11 of being married at the time of this recording. I've learned a whole lot of other, I would argue, more valuable skills that have contributed to the family.
Oh
I've,
man.
Yes.
I've learned how to weld.
man.
I've learned how to sell. I've learned how to market.
Did you say weld?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like with a welding machine? What are you
Yeah,
What are
yeah,
you
yeah.
welding?
Welding metal.
Well,
Bakersfield, oil fields.
Oh, you learned how to weld back in the day. I was thinking, how are you incorporating welding into your real estate?
No,
company?
this is
Previous career.
previous.
Oh, okay. There you
previous
go.
Career.
You
Yeah.
learned how to weld.
Yeah, yeah. I can pass the occasional X-ray. I can. So what that means if you're listening in the oil fields and in many other industries, what they'll do is they'll X-ray the welds to look for impurities in them, and it has to meet a certain standard based off what you're welding in order for that X-ray to pass. And so I can pass the occasional X-ray. I'm not like the best, but I can pass the occasional
There
X-ray.
you go. But basically, she is feeling a little disappointed that you overpromised on your cooking skills and you've under-delivered on what you promised and what she had expected.
I'm just so busy over delivering to our clients.
That's true.
But your
what it
wife is
True.
your most important client. But anyways, let's dive into that. Over promising and under delivering. It can happen in our work lives, in our personal lives, and also in real estate, right?
Oh, definitely in real estate. Definitely in real estate. That's the easiest thing to do is to tell somebody what they want to hear.
Because what do you think of this story? I saw online there was a realtor who.
Good job, by the way.
Thank you. It's not realtor or realtor. It's realtor, right? Realtor.
Round of applause.
Yeah.
There you go,
Good job.
everybody. Well, I had been saying it wrong for 6 months, and he never said anything. He just said, anyways, so this realtor online was meeting with a client, doing a listing appointment, had a conversation with the lady. She was selling her home, And he put these expectations in her mind that it was going to sell for a really high price for that neighborhood. Then, I don't know, a week later, they finally did the comps, found out that, oh my gosh, the homes are selling for $50,000 less than what that conversation was the week before. So he goes and he has that conversation. It's like, hey, I got bad news. You know, the comps are $50,000 less. And $50,000 was a lot. Mm-hmm. And she's like, well, you've already set my mind on this price point. Yep. So I'm not coming down. We're going to sell it for this price. And he's like, we're not going to do anything with that. And so she went with another realtor, same price.
She went with Made for More Realty.
Yeah, right. No, I don't think so, because the home sat on the market for months and finally expired. And he felt a little good about that. Obviously, he should not have set her expectations so high. He overpromised and underdelivered.
He didn't deliver.
Yeah, he didn't deliver.
I mean,
correct.
Underdeliver is like coming in late. You know, like Amazon said it'll be there Tuesday. It's Thursday. You know, it never showed up.
Right, that's true.
It got
so
lost.
how do you feel about that?
So this is something that I'm trying to keep the passion level down a little bit, because this is something that just fires me up. Because, for example, I was speaking with a person on Saturday. And she said, well, so-and-so said they could get me this much. The realtor from my bank said they can get me this much. And why are you saying it so much lower? And I asked her, I said, hey, well, have you ever heard of somebody buying the listing before? She's like, no, what does that mean? I said, that's basically they're buying the listing. They're telling you what you want to hear in order to get the listing. And then once they have the listing, they're going to start doing price adjustments and beat you down until you get that price to where it needs to be. Mm-hmm. She's like, oh, my gosh. I think you're right, because he said he could sell it for all this money, but if we didn't get an offer in 7 days, we'd have to adjust the price. Mm-hmm. And then we'd have to adjust it 7 days after that and 7 days after that. And I was like, oh my gosh, totally that's what that guy's doing, is he's just buying the listing. And so when I hear clients going through it, I mean, this is real estate. It's not rocket science. Now, there is a bit of nuance, like if interest rates spike, or if a bunch of a new build community, like we've gotten bit by this a couple of times, where there's some unknowns. All of a sudden a builder starts promoting or starts building, and it's even it's not even, the homes aren't even built, right? But they're starting the phase, and now they're offering all these incentives to attract people to this community. Okay, well, that just impacted the comps for your home. Even though nothing has sold, even though there's nothing on the record, there are homes in contract to be sold. Right. And so there are some things that can come out of left field, but for the most part, it's a pretty cut and dry business. If 10 homes sold in your community for in a certain range, why would your home sell outside that range?
Right.
Yeah.
So
I think it's beneficial to be real. You know, don't overpromise. Wouldn't you agree? Because then you get yourself in a pickle like that realtor did, where he lost the listing and then he really disappointed that client.
And it also comes down to expectations. Like what has been communicated? Did I say I could get you X for the property? If so, prove it to me. What's my phrase?
Right.
Believe none of what you hear and only half of what you see. Prove it to me. Show me how it is worth this much money. Right. Show me where other homes have sold for this much money. Like be skeptical, but most people want to hear that their home is worth more money, and they're willing to accept that mistruth rather than confront the uncomfortable situation. And we have a couple of different ways that we walk people through this, Val. So, like, you mind walking us through from the moment they say, "Hey, come out, meet with me. What's my home worth?" How do we handle it from there?
You mean like running comps and?
Yeah, just going through the listing process. Yeah.
Yeah. So
people know what to expect if they were to work with us.
Yeah. So I mean, the first, you call in, you say, "Hey, I'd like you to come tell me what my home is worth and talk to me about the process of getting the house on the market." So then one of us will show up and talk you through everything and how that works. Yeah. What we do is, we like the comps conversation we were just having, make sure that we figure out an accurate price for your home, make sure that you're on board with that, and everybody's on the same page about fees and everything associated. Yeah. And then we go ahead and have a staging consultation. So the stager will come out and tell you some tips to do with your house, how to make it look absolutely beautiful for photos. Then we have a professional photographer who also does a 3D virtual tour. And those are really helpful because it's, what you always call it, Johnny, the always open house. Yep. Yeah. So people can.
What does that mean?
Yeah. So you can actually take a virtual tour through the house with, it's this 3D camera that basically like allows you to look up and down and sideways. And
so you can see the floor plan. You can say, hey,
Yeah.
here's where the kitchen is. Here where the kids' bedrooms are. Here's where the primary bedroom is.
Yeah.
Where's the garage? So you get a feel for the house before actually having to hop in your car, whether you're coming from the Bay or whether you're just coming from across town and go out and book an appointment to see the home.
Yeah, so it's a really great tool to have when the house goes on the market.
Really great tool. In fact, 87% of the time, homes with a 3D tour sell for more money than homes without a 3D tour.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's a non-negotiable.
Why is that, though?
Because they're getting to experience the home. Right, there's it's setting the expectation, because sometimes the pictures can look great, the drone photography may make the home appear a certain way, but then when you actually get in the home, you're like, hey, this is totally different than what I expected.
Yeah.
And when you're in there in the 3D tours, like it's real, it's raw, this is genuine, this is authentic, it's more transparent.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even down to the fact that the 3D tour can't be photoshopped. So there's no you can't color correct or anything.
Right.
So it's the real deal of what the house looks like. So that's one thing we always do. Then we, put it up on the internet, so it's published out
But before we put it on the internet, we also send it out to a local appraiser.
Oh, you're right. Yes. Yeah. So we're not only hearing the price from us who've run our own comps, right? But actually getting a professional appraiser's opinion on it before we put it on the market too, to make sure, just a second set of eyes that there wasn't something that we missed when we were looking at our comps.
So Valary and I are real estate brokers. So there's the salesperson is they just got their license, 2 weeks ago, they're a salesperson. You have to have been in the industry at least 2 years and pass additional courses in order to become a broker. So Valary and I have done the extra work to become broker associates with the company we're at. And so even though we're real estate brokers, we still are farming this out, and getting the second opinion from a local appraiser, because we want to make sure that home, that we're not over promising and under delivering.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that all expectations have been set, and we share that information. But then at the end of the day, right, it's it's the seller's choice what they want to list it at.
I was just going to say that. Yeah. I'm ultimately at the end of the day, if you, as the seller, it's your house, it's your rules. Like we always say that too. It's your decision on what you want to price the house at. Ultimately, we're just here to provide the data.
Yep, we're here to provide the data, and then moving forward, there are certain tells whether or not that price is accurate.
Yeah.
And so if the average days on market are X and you've been on X plus 10 days, okay, then maybe you're overpriced. If we're seeing 4 to 5 showings a week, okay, then that's a good indication that you're priced correctly. Like private showings, I'm not talking about 5 people through an open house. I'm talking about private showings, 4 to 5. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And your home's getting enough exposure, then we're probably priced correctly. But if nobody's coming through the house, or it's one person a week, and we keep getting feedback that the home is priced incorrectly, then now, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, it's time to do a price adjustment. Right? We tried the higher price. We need to purchase in a new buyer bracket.
Yeah.
Yeah. So buyer brackets are a really interesting thing, and we can touch on that when we come back.
This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
I love this term. This is something that once you hear it, it makes complete sense. And you're like, well, hey, why did I never hear of it? Why haven't I never heard that before? Why did I never think of it before? And it's the term buyer brackets. Valary,
is this anything like Final Four brackets in basketball or NFL brackets?
Basically, not at all the same.
Basically, not at all.
Yeah, but when I'm referring to buyer brackets, I'm talking about how people search for homes. So if you're searching, let's say under $1 million, the buyer brackets. So let's break it down. $750,000 to $1 million. Buyer brackets are probably $50,000. $750,000 or less, it's probably $25,000.
Right.
And what I mean by that is those are the increments that people set their search filters on the online real estate portals.
Okay, got it. That's interesting. Can you say that again?
Yeah, so the buyer brackets are how people search on their online portals. Yeah. So let's say your house is priced. The comps show and the appraiser says your home is worth $792. Okay, $792,000. The buyer bracket that we would recommend you go in would be $774. Right?
Really, that narrow?
You drop it to the next lowest buyer
So
bracket.
what you're saying then is home shoppers are putting that window when they're in their search.
Yep.
That's how narrow the window is. You're telling me it's only how many thousands of dollars for?
Well, they have to put a cap somewhere, right? And so it's more. It's not necessarily there's not a low cap. There's a high cap. Like they won't go above 750. They won't go above 800. And so
for instance, like if the home was valued at 775, or that's what it's. I don't know. I'm a little bit confused.
Yeah.
Clarify it to me just a little bit more.
Can you help? I don't know.
I'll help. Yeah. So when buyers are, sometimes they don't even realize that they're doing this, right? But when buyers are searching for homes, they're setting a cap for themselves on their purchase price. So
correct.
If they're, if they're approved up to 800,000, that's what their pre-approval is. Sometimes they'll still put their cap at 775 because they don't want to max themselves out, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, or they want to have the extra negotiation ability to come in a little bit over.
So they don't go over though, because in my mind I would think, well, I've been approved for 800. I'm going to go to 850 because I'll maybe be able to negotiate down.
Right. It does work both ways.
There are people that do that, but there's still a cap. At some point, there's still a cap.
There's still a cap, and so when Johnny's saying like sometimes they're in $50,000 increments, sometimes they're in $25,000 increments,
sometimes they're in $100,000 increments,
depending on
how much
what bracket you're in is what you're saying.
Yeah. So basically, if the appraiser says the house is, and so then we're switching gears onto the seller conversation, right? So if the appraiser says your house is worth $792, it's best to put it under that $775 mark, or
You're right.
Yeah, $775. So pricing it at $774 or below, because if anyone has their cap at $775, then we're missing out on all those people if you priced it at $792.
And
that's very smart to think of it that way.
And they might be willing to pay more. People are like,
100%. Yeah.
What if? Well, I thought they can't pay more than that. It's no. Most people are like, if you have the right property for this family or for this person, people will cash in retirement programs. They will reach out to friends and family. They will tighten their belts on their budget. They will do whatever it takes in order to get that property.
Right.
But in order for them to even have the desire to purchase the property, they have to know that it exists.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense. That's good strategy. I've never thought of it like that before.
So those are buyer brackets.
Yeah.
So when we're meeting with people and we're going over pricing, we typically like to, do chips aren't $1, they're 99 cents.
Right.
So we go $7.74, in those buyer brackets. So just right below where that search filter would cut them off. So that way it's included in that search. And if you're not seeing any activity on the property, the best thing to do is then to drop it to the next buyer bracket based on your price point.
Which would be what? So you were at 774.
I would drop it. Yeah, I would probably drop. I mean, depends on how aggressive you want to get, but I would at least drop it to $749.
Yeah.
That would be the next bracket, $25,000 increments.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
And are you saying it differs based on the bracket?
Yeah, I mean, it's just relative. It's basically a percentage, right? So percent of 10% of 10 is 1. 10% of 100 is 10, right? Sure. And so if you're talking about $2 million property, you drop it $25,000, you didn't move the needle a whole lot.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And so you didn't really expose it to a bigger segment of the buyer population by dropping it a little bit. And so the other interesting thing to talk about buyer brackets, because we have seen interest rates changing, is as a general rule, this is like a general rule, for every 1% change in interest rates, that influences 10% of the buyer population.
Yeah.
So let's say interest rates go down 1%, you just unlocked 10% more of a buyer pool than what you had previously.
Right.
The pricing hasn't changed, you just exposed your home to more people. Conversely, if interest rates go up by 1%, you just lost 10%. So when interest rates were in the high 2s and 3s, and they got jacked up to 7, you lost 40% of your buyer pool.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of why prices stalled out, and we stopped seeing as aggressive appreciation that we'd seen over the previous time. But so that's buyer brackets. So if your realtor's not talking to you about buyer brackets or some term similar, make sure you're asking them, hey, what's your strategy around the buyer brackets?
That's smart, yeah, and set up those expectations too. Like if it's not doing well, if you're not getting as many showings as you would hope, then let them know, hey, this is our plan of lowering it down to the next bracket, right?
Yep, and setting expectations. Like that's so key, because people get frustrated because they're like, they don't understand what's happening next. They just want to know what's happening. Right. Even if homes are selling in like 15 days, pretty fast for real estate. Again, this isn't stocks, this is real estate. That's a fast, 2 weeks to get an accepted offer, but that's 14 nights of that person going to sleep wondering, why hasn't my house sold? What's it going to sell for? Does anybody like my house?
Yeah.
What are Valary and Johnny doing to sell my house? Like there's all these thoughts swirling around in their head. And so,
Yeah.
but what we also like to do, I want to just touch on briefly too, is we talked about how interest rates are impacting affordability in the buyer pool and buyer brackets and all that. And Ryan Lundquist, who's been on the show before, love that guy. He recently came out with a blog. By the way, if you are thinking about buying or selling a house, check out Sacramento Appraisal Blog. If you're a real estate agent, you probably already know about Sacramento Appraisal Blog. This dude is a gem. He's a local appraiser, and so he provides local insight. It's not like getting your real estate information from a national perspective. You're getting a local Sacramento insight, and it's just go to Sacramento Appraisal Blog. And what he was saying recently on his blog was, and blog sounds like it's like the New York Times of blogging. Like it's really, and it's funny, it's good. So anyways, it's not.
What's it again? I'm going to look it up right now.
Sacramento Appraisal Blog.
There are always lots of funny memes and
Appraisal.
things
Yeah,
to entertain
it's
you.
not as dry and as
Yeah, it's not. You're not going to be bored reading an article.
So whether or not you're in real estate or not, you're going to have a good time.
You're going to have a good time, and you're going to understand what's going on in the market. And so we oftentimes refer our clients to the Sacramento Appraisal Blog because, sometimes,
Well, like his current blog says, the housing market has a 90s vibe.
exactly.
Yep.
Sacramento.
I have no idea what that means, but
So what we like to do, like if we were to tell our clients something like that, they might look at us and go like, "You're a salesperson.
Right.
You're looking out for you. I
Yeah.
know you have all these great reviews and you've been in business a long time and you're brokers and blah blah blah. And Matt loves you over at the Fish, but I'm still a little bit skeptical." And so what we were able to do is we send them over to the Sacramento Appraisal Blog, and they can read a local appraiser's perspective on what's happening in the market.
Right.
And what he was just spoke recently on was how the real estate has a 90s vibe. And what he meant by that was mortgage applications and sales volume is at mid-90s levels. So even though there's 60 more people living in the state of California or in the country, anyways, there's millions more people, it still has the mid-90s kind of vibe. And so that's pretty eye-opening for people.
Just
Yeah.
like today's fashion styles.
It's like today's fashion styles. They're going back to the 90s. They're going
yeah.
back to the 90s.
yeah.
But
Great.
yeah. So if you are thinking about buying or selling homes, go ahead and reach out to us. Just go to madeformorerealty.com. You can Google us, check us out, read our 5-star reviews. And we're happy to give you some tips and tricks on how to get your home sold for the most amount of money. And part of it, you'll hear us talk about those buyer brackets.
And if you have any recipe ideas for
Oh, gosh.
Johnny to start cooking for his wife,
3 ingredients or less. Let's start
ingredient-
basic.
And
15 minutes, 3 ingredients,
Little to no chopping. And
yeah,
Little to no chopping. I'm
microwave preferred.
microwave, exclusive.
Yeah.
Microwave exclusive.